This woman's alluring posture, seen faintly through the window, makes anyone blush and their heart race, especially the man who is now face to face with her at such close proximity. As they draw nearer, the atmosphere becomes increasingly charged with tension. Every move the woman made captivated the man before her, who finally embraced her tightly. This man, named Nei Phong, was about to get married but had to go to Thailand for a few months for work. He had no choice but to be apart from his gentle and graceful fiancée. The markets in Thailand are bustling with life, quite different from the serene environment of Nei Phong's hometown. However, this newness excites Nei Phong. He looks around, familiarizing himself with the Thai surroundings, observing everything around him. Compared to the simple Thai citizens nearby, his formal attire makes him stand out. He is filled with dreams and hopes for this new work environment. Arriving at his new job, Nei Phong was full of enthusiasm. This ambitious young man was highly regarded by the company leaders. On his first day, his colleagues were drawn to the photo of him and his fiancée on his desk. While praising his fiancée's beauty, Nei Phong also earned the reputation of being a good man. Despite the wedding being postponed, he received many congratulations on his upcoming marriage. Just arrived in Bangkok, a few friends gathered at a small pub to welcome Nei Phong. In the hot season, ice-cold beer is definitely the best choice. While everyone was drinking and chatting, friends praised Nei Phong for his successful career and his beautiful fiancée, making many envious. Although Nei Phong didn't say much, his feelings were clearly written on his face. At the height of the excitement, a seductive and charming woman walked in. This dazzling woman instantly captured the attention of all the men in the bar. She walked straight to the table where Nei Phong and his friends were sitting. This woman's name is Duko, a goddess in the heart of Nebo's good friend, Hungjiu. Hungjiu invited Duko to this gathering. When she arrived at the table, all the men fell silent and looked at her. Duko seemed accustomed to the men's gazes. She wasn't shy at all. She casually took off her coat and gloves. This woman was completely different from Nebo's fiancée, Mitsuko. She was dazzling and captivating, like a thorny red rose. The seemingly calm Nei Phong was also somewhat dazed by the woman in front of him. It seems that any man would be moved by such a beautiful woman. A bright rose in the bushes naturally carries an air of arrogance. However, Jizi still noticed the handsome Nei Phong in the crowd. Seeing Nei Phong, Xiangzi suddenly became shy. She didn't dare to look directly at Nei Phong, only occasionally glancing at him sitting opposite her. When the two of them talked face to face, an unusual feeling arose. After their first meeting, Tomoko often appeared where Naoshi was. On this day, the company held a baseball game. The young and strong Naoshi was also an athlete. On the baseball field, he became the most dazzling one. Chico was also invited to the game. Despite the scorching heat in Bangkok, nothing could dampen the enthusiasm of the crowd and the athlete's competitive spirit. Facing a well-matched opponent, Nei Phong gripped the baseball bat tightly, observing every move of his rival, looking for an opportunity. Finally, his efforts paid off as he hit a beautiful home run. This crucial hit secured the victory. In the joy of winning, he didn't forget to run past the stands to share his happiness with everyone, radiating his pride in victory. At this moment, Tatsu couldn't help but lift her hat and take another look at Nei Phong. At this moment, Tatsu's feelings for Nei Phong were no longer just simple acquaintance. Her eyes now held a hint of admiration and affection. After the match, Chico couldn't resist and went to Nei Phong's room. Nei Phong, thinking it was a colleague, was in the shower and only wrapped in a towel when he opened the door. It turned out to be Tatsu. She returned the baseball to Nei Phong and didn't hide her feelings at all when she entered his home. When Nei Phong came out, Chico stood by the window and seduced him. Despite Nei Phong having a family soon, he couldn't resist the allure of the woman in front of him. He no longer suppressed his desires and thoughts, leading to a deep emotional and physical connection with Tatsu. This woman is crying out loudly at the airport, kissing the man in front of her, but he remains unmoved. The woman is heartlessly sent away, and then another woman happily jumps into the man's arms. After ending his special date with Tatsu, Nei Phong often daydreams. He fantasizes about the future at his desk, so much so that he doesn't even hear the phone ring. It takes a colleague's reminder to bring him back to reality. Once it happens, it is likely to happen a second and third time. This lingering feeling makes it hard for both of them to stop. They fulfill each other's inner needs, behaving like lovers in the early stages of a passionate romance, freely and unrestrained in the anonymity of Bangkok. During the trip, Nei Phong learned that the charming woman's name was Duzi. Besides, Duzi's identity seemed particularly mysterious. Perhaps it was this sense of mystery that kept their relationship fresh. Nei Phong enjoys such happiness and excitement. Although Zizi has a glamorous appearance, she also has an interesting soul. With just a glance and a few words, she can understand Neifeng's thoughts. Seeing Neifeng's admiration for the used Mercedes-Benz on the roadside, she immediately realizes that he really likes the car. Without hesitation, she buys the car and gifts it to her beloved man. With a luxury car and a beautiful woman by his side, Neifeng must be feeling extremely happy at this moment. Racing down the small roads of Bangkok at sunset, Neifeng, thrilled and excited, had long forgotten about his fiancée, Mitsuko. Immersed in this exhilarating affair, Neifeng often ignored Mitsuko's calls. Even when he did answer, he frequently forgot what she had said. One day, Mitsuko expressed her doubts over the phone. It was then that Neifeng realized he was no longer alone. He was destined to marry Mitsuko. This realization hit him like a wake-up call. He was at a loss. He tried to rationalize breaking up with Tatsi, but she didn't care and smiled at him. However, Naibu began to deliberately avoid her. But once it starts, giving up is never that easy. Time and again, he resolved to end it, only to surrender each time. This back-and-forth entanglement clearly shows that Neifeng cannot leave Shizi. His feelings already belong to Tatsi. That day, Tatsi was trying on her dresses in front of the mirror and finally chose a revealing one. However, this displeased Nabin. He couldn't stand seeing his woman dressed so provocatively. He naturally assumed that Tatsi belonged only to him and demanded that she change her dress before going out. But Tatsi asked Nabin, "Do you love me?" This question hit Nabin's sore spot. He instantly sobered up, opened the door, and left. At the party, Tatsi indeed changed into a different dress. Although the dress was modest, it couldn't hide her allure. Hungjo even thought his goddess came just for him and couldn't help but talk endlessly. But he probably didn't know that his goddess was already in the arms of his best friend. Neifeng couldn't stand seeing Duko like this anymore. He left his seat, and Tatsi quickly followed him. Seeing Neifeng in low spirits, Jizi even teased him to lighten the mood. Neifeng smiled, but just as the two were getting closer, they noticed Hengju nearby, having overheard their entire conversation. It turned out that his goddess had already been taken by his best friend. The two started fighting, and Hengju declared that their friendship was over. Only then did Neifeng realize that his choices had led to an irreversible situation. The conversations between the two at work became polite and distant. Rumors continued to spread in the office. This young and promising individual now found himself in the spotlight. The boss, valuing his talent, decided to talk to him, advising him not to continue making mistakes. After all, a person's success can be ruined by small errors. These words made him reflect deeply. Now, he was constantly teetering on the edge of danger. For the sake of his future, he might have to give up some things. Indulging in current desires and freedom, Neifeng wavers between reason and indulgence. After a few days of avoidance, she still met Tatsi. Drunk, Tatsi pointed into the distance, revealing that she'd been abandoned. She wanted revenge on her ex-husband and asked Neifeng for help. Seeing the pitiful Tatsi, he softened once again. The man in front of her decided to marry this woman, giving her a final commitment. Despite being middle-aged, the woman's charm was still evident. The man carried her in his arms, completing the wedding ceremony. As the wedding date approached, the issues Neifeng needed to resolve increased, and it was time for him to make a choice. Sensing something was wrong, his fiancée Mitsuko went to Bangkok and first sought out Tatsi. The two talked outside. With the gentlest tone, Mitsuko revealed the harshest truth. Tatsu understood that they had no future together. In the blink of an eye, 25 years had passed. Neifeng successfully became the leader of the company and has 2 lovely sons. This life seems to be a perfect balance of career and family. But Neifeng knows deep down that his life is only superficially warm. One day, the company announced a crisis and sent Neifeng on a business trip to Bangkok. The hotel arranged by the company turned out to be the same one where he and Jizi had created beautiful memories. Neifeng's mind was in turmoil. Memories kept resurfacing. What he never expected was to meet Tatsi again in this hotel. At this moment, Tatsi is no longer the charming and glamorous woman she once was. Dressed in professional attire, she appears elegant and dignified, though her face shows signs of hardship. Basie is now the manager of this hotel. She brings Neifeng to a familiar room, and as soon as the door closes, they embrace. Their longing for each other is expressed in their embrace. They then go to a familiar restaurant. Years later, they are mature and composed, sharing their experiences like old friends. During the conversation, Neifeng learns that Tatsi never left Bangkok, but stayed to protect it. Neifeng had thought Tatsi went to New York. They once hoped to meet again in this city. who knew that after so many years of mischances, despite the deep affection between them, compared to the youthful indulgence and impulsiveness of the past, Chico now understands that Naofeng has many responsibilities. She no longer tries to hold on or force anything, only wishing him a good life. Back in Tokyo, Naofeng was restless, staring at the faded baseball on his desk. Memories flooded his mind. Now, he had no desire for life. His true love had been hidden in his heart for so many years, and all he could think about was Tatsu. So, he decided to hand over the company to his good brother and head to Bangkok. It seemed that Mitsuko already knew what Naofeng was thinking. Naofeng wanted to confess to Mitsuko, but in the end, he just took the book Mitsuko gave him and left without saying a word. On the plane, Naofeng opened the book given to him by Guangxi. It turned out to be a collection of Guangxi's poems. He realized that despite all these years together, he had never truly cared for Guangxi. He felt a bit guilty. When he flipped to the back, he found a photo. It was a picture of the two of them from 25 years ago. Naofeng suddenly understood that his wife had known everything all these years. While feeling guilty, he also felt more fearless. He arrived at the temple where he had agreed to meet Tatsu. Seeing Tatsu again, her face looked even paler and weaker. These two lovers finally came together, no longer with the vigor of youth. They supported each other, feeling the calm, yet intense love. To make it up to Tatsu, Nebo decided to hold a wedding for her at a hotel. They finally acknowledged their feelings for each other. Tatsu finally wore the white veil. The day after the wedding, Naofeng couldn't find Tatsu in the room, only the staff coming and going. On the bed, there was a baseball that symbolized their love. A staff member tearfully told Naofeng that Tatsu had been suffering from a terminal illness for a long time and passed away last night. This was a huge blow to Naofeng. He drove his beloved car at high speed, thinking everything was clear, but it didn't end perfectly. At the crossroads, Naofeng could only break down and cry.